Hello Dashers! My colleagues asked me to do this video because we often ask this question, is your startup investor ready? Well, I will reveal the most received answer at the end of the video, so keep watching. Now, considering every startup is distinctive in its own way, how do you generalize this question? I mean, what exactly investor readiness would mean to you as a startup founder? Well, we've been investing and have many friends in the investment industry, and based on our conversations that we've had over the years with many startups and investors, there are some distinct elements which can be considered as investor readiness. While most startups have their own individual journey and roadmap, the questions from investors have largely remained static. They've been tired and boring. Do you have revenues? What is your traction? And in the end, oh, you're too early for us. You get it? Right. Now, there's more to traction and revenues. When I said earlier that we ask this question often, we essentially ask this question to assess whether the founder and team have considered multi-dimensional approach to creating trust assets which can help answer any question that gets thrown onto them comprehensively and convincingly. So we at DoDash have identified 8 distinct aspects that can demonstrate your investor readiness. Rather an indisputable momentum on all the 8 aspects that I'm going to talk about, and your startup is reasonably well prepared to talk to investors and has a good chance of raising capital. Well, if not, the DoDash community is there, and of course the DoDash team, Parul, Michael, Marcus, and of course myself are here to help. Okay. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So what's the aspect number 1? Pitch. Not just written and oral. I mean, I just can't emphasize enough. You have 60 seconds to convey the minimalist interpretation of your product, your service, the market, and your team. Make it count. When you get past this, you have a few minutes to impress the investor and probably a day to respond. This will demonstrate your cognitive legitimacy and preparedness to overcome your newness liabilities that startups like ours are always suffering. Aspect number 2, executable vision. What is your long-term vision and how will you get there? Is this the next billion-dollar business? Make sure your assumptions are backed by verifiable data. The good old STAM, SAM, SOM, they still work. If the investors believe yours is a real deal, trust me, you're going to get the attention. Aspect number 3, product roadmap. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, how will you get there is extremely critical. What are your milestones? How will you reach them? Prepare yourself at an extreme granular level on knowing what you need to do to get there. Meanwhile, prove that your product, even if it is a crude version or even a non-technology solution, is ready to be rolled out and the users are aligning with your assumptions that you've made. Aspect number 4, users and customers. Demonstrate users and potential customers who are willing to engage with you and your product and your company. Show the metrics that you track and why those metrics are relevant to your business. Additionally, be prepared to discuss the metrics which maybe an investor would expect you to track. There's a general tendency for investors of a certain vintage to consider revenues alone as the golden metric. I mean, which is not completely misplaced. If there's somebody willing to pay for your service, great. Aspect number 5, marketing and sales. Can you clearly show how would you reach your users and customers? Do you know how, right? Then why don't you stick out the data points to lend credibility to your claims? You know your multipliers. Do you know your true customer acquisition cost? Can you illustrate how users convert into customers? Do you know clear path to revenue would help you demonstrate your preparedness? Then the 6th aspect is financial preparation. I can get started on this one. We get a lot of fluff on this one. How will your business make money? Knowing that is absolutely critical. What are your unit economics? Do you have a financial projection and a plan and do you know your monthly burn rates? What are your key growth drivers? How you calculate and how do you make those assumptions? Most importantly, do you track the previous data that you have created and do you derive any learning from them to do any kind of a course correction if you have to? Do you really know your true financing needs? That's critical. Aspect number 7, the data room. Have you created one? Is it qualitative? Is it up to date? The quality of the data room is going to make a pivotal difference. One of those very sophisticated investor on DudeS suggested build out a data room very early on and surround yourself with qualified people, advisors and consultants who can potentially help you there. Then of course, most important, the golden goose, aspect number 8, the most important component of any startup, team. Why is this team the right one to execute this business idea? Knowing the complementary capabilities of the team members and awareness of limitations and blind spots of the team is a huge confidence builder. Can this team demonstrate the ability to go the distance? That's something you need to recognize. And one quick piece of advice. Investors generally don't like solo founders. So why don't you get your investment readiness assessed? Okay, we have reached the end of the video and it's time for me to reveal the answer to the investor readiness question. The most commonly received answer is yes. Unfortunately, when we do the diagnostics, 98% are not sufficiently prepared. Isn't this the similar number who don't get funded, who don't get invested?